Let's get it on. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Move it to the music.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelly.
I'm Bryan Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition, a weekend edition of Ruthless Talk. Happy Saturday to everybody. Brian, happy Saturday. How are you,
you as
man?
well.
How are you,
I'm
brother?
doing pretty good, man. Not too bad. It's been a relaxing day. Ain't got shit to do on the weekend this weekend, so
There you go.
yeah, man.
What better way to talk some pro wrestling, man?
Right.
Especially we got a big pay-per-view coming up next week, which is Elimination Chamber. And people are in luck, Brian, because guess what time you got to wake up in the morning to watch that? 5 o'clock in the morning, and that's just Eastern Standard Time for everybody on the West Coast. Yeah, you're shit out of luck. That's like 2 a.m. on the freaking West Coast.
Might as well just come home after the bar at that point. Just see if you can make it.
Right, you might as freaking well at that freaking point.
Yeah.
And again, people wanted Roman and freaking Rock on that pay-per-view, and I just continue to shake my head over that. But hey, we've already made that discussion, and I don't want to repeat myself, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But today, ladies and gentlemen, is once again another jam-packed show for you guys today. Once again, I want to thank you guys. If you were able to watch our last episode, we cover Monday Night Raw on Wednesday night. That show is now up on our YouTube channel, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Go check that out when you can. But today is all about The Rock, heel Rock.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, as well as now being official member of the Bloodline, and we're going to get to all of that, as well as SmackDown, some other topics that we have in this show. But the first thing that we'll want to discuss, and we're going to dive straight into the show, and that is a little bit about AEW, a little bit of a little recap, everything going on in AEW land, right? So, of course, you got AEW Revolution coming up March 3rd, I believe is the date for that pay-per-view, which is coming up just in a couple of weeks. And this past Dynamite, man. So look, and Brian, we spoke about a little bit, and I know you haven't been able to catch a bunch of AEW shows as of late, and I was able to watch AEW Dynamite from last week as well as this week. And I got to tell you, man, and again, this is somebody that you guys know me. I'm very honest and I'm very objective with everything that I say into this microphone. That includes WWE and that includes AEW. And I want you guys to listen what I have to say. And some people may not like it, but it is what it is. AEW Revolution, this pay-per-view, outside of Sting's retirement match, as well as just Toni Storm herself, because she's just that damn freaking good. I'm going to get into a little a vignette that she did in this show this past Wednesday, which was just freaking brilliant, just continuing to just freaking levels upon levels of what she's doing with her character. It's just great. Outside of those two things, Brian, I could care less of a shit about AEW Revolution. There's just really nothing else that's gravitating towards me, nor that I just really need to see outside of Sting and his retirement match, as well as the Bucks. The Bucks are included of what they've been doing. Again, just embracing the EVP role. It's just really good stuff. They just come across as like just freaking spoiled freaking douchebags because they have that freaking EVP name and they can pull some strings. It's freaking great. But outside of that, man, especially the fact that MJF is no longer here, because here's the reality, man. And again, and I've said this about Tony Khan and this company creatively, like I'm watching Undisputed Kingdom doing absolutely fucking nothing. Wardlow is once again having jobber matches. So he's getting jobber matches leading into being into another stable, and he's just getting more jobber matches being into this stable. Undisputed Kingdom isn't doing anything. You're hardly doing anything with Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy. Speaking of Orange Cassidy, the dude had a fucking Texas death match against Matt Taven. Matt fucking Taven in the main event of freaking Dynamite this past Wednesday. Guys, what are we doing? The same Texas death match that two of your top stars that are going after an AEW world title just had to end 2023. Like, what are we fucking doing here, bro?
Yeah.
Again, tell me that you have nothing creatively without telling me you have nothing creatively for these freaking shows. And there's a lot of freaking AEW tribalists that say like, oh, well, you're not watching AEW Collision, or like you're clearly not watching Rampage. I'm sorry. Can you give me something to actually watch? And
that's what I'm saying. So they're not
invest
putting
in?
it on Dynamite, but you're telling me they're putting it on the 1 hour show taped, pre-taped show on Friday? What?
Right. That nobody's watching, by the way, because listen, Brian, listen, I get it. Somebody, shout out to Suplex Media, who was part of Richie Mars's podcast talking about CM Punk. And he makes an interesting take about like, oh, why do people not want more wrestling? It's not that we don't want more wrestling, but it's the quality of wrestling. I'd rather you have less quality of wrestling than quantity of wrestling, because it's not helping these networks that you're legit pulling in 300 to 400 some odd of your shows. And honestly, shoot, not even sub 300 for Rampage. Again, I don't know how Rampage is still even on the fucking air, because nobody watches this shit, because people are drained after watching from 2 freaking hours of SmackDown on a Friday night. And now they got to watch a bunch of random bullshit for an hour on a 10 o'clock on a Friday night. It's just like, guys, listen, I'm watching Wardlow and freaking doing more jobber matches. I'm watching Orange Cassidy in a Texas death match, just wrestling random motherfuckers. And again, I get it why it's Matt Taven, because he's fighting freaking Roderick Strong for the for his international championship. So we're just doing the same thing with Orange Cassidy before, and we put the title back on him, and he's just doing the same thing. You can honestly only do so much, Brian, with Orange Cassidy's shtick, and you're ending the show with it. Like, what in the fuck, man? So yeah, but then there's the good things, right? There's Toni Storm and what she's doing with her character. She cuts a promo. She cut this promo. It was called Wet Ink, right? It was called Wet Ink or whatever. And she sending a message to Deonna Purrazzo that says, if you want the old Toni Storm, right? She's reminiscing stuff from the past. They grew up as good friends and how they got into wrestling. It's like, if you want you're going to get the old Toni Storm now and so much freaking more. And then freaking, Deonna had an instant reaction backstage. It was very short, like 30 seconds. But I like it, man. You're getting personal, right? You're telling a little bit of history that you're friends and that there's history, as well as this, again, Toni Storm portraying herself in this character has been done flawlessly. And again, there's the Bucks that are embracing in this EVP role. They once again are abusing their power with freaking Tony Schiavone. They were just bullying Tony Schiavone at the end of their match against Top Flight. He's like, listen, we just scored a really good victory over Top Flight. I think that makes us number one contenders, right? They got these fucking mustaches. They're coming out in these white attires, like white suit attires filled with freaking Darby and Sting's blood after what they did a couple weeks ago when they won the tag titles. I want to say it was about a week and a half or so, or something like that. Because they had a match. They had a jobber match on Rampage, and then they had this match with Top Flight. So yeah, about a week ago. But yeah, man, outside of that, there's nothing. There is nothing on this Dynamite, this flagship show, that is getting, dare I say, I'm sure, a majority of your fan base invested. Because here's the reality, man. We talked about, and I'll send this over to you, Brian, and get your thoughts. Like, we talk about AEW and just not being able to branch out of their niche audience, because that's just what AEW has been for the last 5 years. The only wrestler that has been able to be any semblance of larger than life to branch out of that niche audience is MJF. That's it. If you want to give me another name, then fine. But outside of that, MJF is the only motherfucker. And right, it shouldn't be a shocker with MJF because he's that freaking good. And now the Undisputed Kingdom is doing freaking nothing. You got a triple threat match that makes no fucking sense. You're turning Paige heel. Now he's an in-betweener. He's telling Samoa Joe about defending the world title with honor, when the whole point of Hangman Adam Page being a part of this, going after Joe, was because he hired a bunch of goons to go after him. And now he's playing the heel. And I get why, because Swerve's getting cheered and he's there to take the pinfall. But still, nothing adds up of the story that you're trying to tell. And it's all over the place. And that's it's like, okay, let's try to connect this dot here and this dot here. And there's so much shit for an audience to take in to where nothing adds up. And that's the majority. And that is the real issue with AEW. And they got to get their shit together with that. So with all that being said, Brian, your thoughts, at least from what I was able to discuss, your thoughts in regards to all of that with AEW.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I just haven't, especially here since coming or even leading into the Rumble. I mean, WWE's just, it's got a lot more shit going for him, man. So, the only thing right now that I'm really still like 100% invested in is Sting, and that's just because he's he's number 2 on my personal Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel like they've flubbed the opportunity or story there with Swerve and Joe by adding Paige. Again, you said MJF, he's been gone, so that leaves a big void. But again, you've built this Undisputed Era up to where, Cole's the devil, and granted, he's still injured, but you've done nothing with Undisputed Era since, really.
No, nothing.
Even Copeland and oh shit.
And Christian. I forgot to mention that. Like Adam Copeland, now finally they were able to frickin' tell some semblance of a story yesterday. So they had a match with Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia has been inserted into all this. He's been tag teaming with FTR, going up against House of Black. And I believe he pinned in a 6-man tag match. He pinned Christian. So now he's trying to claim that he deserves a TNT title opportunity. They had a matchup. They challenged each other on Collision. They had this matchup on Dynamite this past Wednesday. I believe it was Kill Switch, aka Luchasaurus, got involved, forced a DQ. Christian and obviously, what the fuck is this? Nick Wayne got involved as well. And then Daniel Garcia was taken out. They did a concerto, by the way. They did a concerto shot, which was cool, but it's just like, you've done legit nothing but have freaking Edge face Suzuki, freaking Daniel Garcia, freaking Griff Garrison. And now you want to go back to this story angle. And I get it. Like Edge has called out Christian for many weeks in promos. I get it. But it's just like, you're not adding any layers. They've already faced each other at World's End, right? They did the whole, AEW title opportunity when Kill Switch won the whole ladder match, right? Now you got to add these layers. You've kind of just bide time for weeks of Edge just having good wrestling matches. And now you do a concerto shot, which, by the way, he walked out of his own power, storytelling wise. Like, you would think a concerto shot takes you out for freaking weeks. But who knows? Is he going to get taken out for weeks because of this chair shot? I don't know. From what I heard, he was able to walk out of his own power, but you would think that a concerto shot, he's going to be taken out. So he's not going to be a part of freaking AEW Revolution, you would think. So that leaves Daniel Garcia to get this title opportunity. So you're not going to have Edge and Christian, right, at AEW Revolution, but let's put little Daniel Garcia. And listen, I love the freaking, the shtick that he does. It's funny, it's entertaining, but like, guys, Daniel Garcia getting a TNT title opportunity, it's just like, what, like, you're going to have that on the Revolution freaking card, and you're going to take Edge out of it. It's just, I don't understand what we're doing. Or are you going to do a triple threat match, which would be really fucking weird because you already have a triple threat match on this card. So that would be very freaking odd. So yeah, like Brian, even that, like there's been a lot of just inconsistency with how they're developing the story going into Revolution. So not a lot of things are just adding up here,
Yeah, I'd venture to say in the last year and a half, 2 years, and sure, it's debatable. I might be forgetting somebody, but they've had nobody in AEW other than MJF and arguably Sting as a kind of part-timer that he is, that has been consistent in their storytelling, in their when you see them on camera. Like, I could run down the list. I mean, there's in the last 2 years, I mean, we've had starts and stops with Daniel Garcia, Darby. I mean, pick a star. Like, everybody has had these starts and stops, and nothing, it feels like to me, has progressed in much. Ricky Starks, who else? Sammy Guevara,
Miro.
all the Miro, like all.
What the fuck is Miro doing, bro? Like,
Yeah.
because bro, like, you're putting Daniel. Listen, and this is no shade to Daniel Garcia. I'm sure he's a great dude. He's a talented wrestler. That's great. But he's going after the TNT. He's got a title match. But Miro was doing this weird shit with frickin' his wife Lana, right? Or CJ Perry, that's her real name. And Miro is left off the Lance Archer, bro. Lance fucking Archer can't even get TV time, dude. And we want to put fucking Orange Cassidy, Matt Taven in a Texas death match. What in the fuck? Oh my God, Brian, continue.
That's where I'm at with AEW, man. I just feel like, I mean, they have a lot of talent over
Absolutely.
there. We've said it again, probably too much.
Right.
And it's just, in the last year and a half, I'd say, or at least the last year, definitely, like nothing has been consistent,
No.
And I don't know, like, it seems like that's almost like the I don't want to say, dare I say, like, the goal of Tony Khan and this niche audience is just like, let's make it as much like the Matrix as we can. So you have to connect all these nonsensical dots that, I don't know, man, but like I said, other than Sting, and I'll still check it out, but I mean, nothing storyline wise is
Nothing's
really clicking
captivating
for me
you.
now. Yeah.
Nothing's captivating at all. And by the way, I have to mention this too, like Jay White, like it is such a shame of what they're doing.
That's another
with
one.
Jay.
Bullet Club.
Bro, like what do they call themselves? The Bang Bang Scissor Gang. Guys,
Right.
This dude, guys, I'm being straight up here. This guy, Jay White, right? He's supposed to be this big deal. He was this big star in New Japan, right? He was this big free agent. We thought he was going to do really good things, tremendous things. He had a world title match against MJF, right? He was in this Continental Classic, and Tony Khan's creative freaking genius mind is to put him in comedy shticks with a Walmart version of D-Generation X. That's freaking the Bullet. That's freaking the Guns and Daddy Ass and the Acclaimed. Like, guys, what the fuck? This is what we're doing for Jay White. This is exactly, Brian, what we imaged Jay White was going to do. He's going to do comedy shit. Freaking with again, the Walmart version of D-Generation X. That's what they are. They like to crack jokes. They like to be funny. It's like, we got, and they their catchphrase is legit this, Brian. We got 2 words for you. Guns up. Like, it's a D-Generation X shtick here.
Right.
Like, it's fucking weird. It's weird. Like, it's just, listen, the Acclaimed are great. Listen, I like the Acclaimed, but like, why aren't they focusing on elevating the tag division? Right? Listen, the Bullet Club Gold, you want to make that a shtick? That's fine. I don't mind Bullet Club Gold, but now you're inserting them, and like, what are they doing together? Like, I believe the reason why they were forming together was to go after Undisputed Kingdom.
Right.
So is that going to be the next thing for Undisputed Kingdom? I don't fucking know. You would think they would be telling this by now because they've been together for freaking weeks.
Yeah.
Everything is all over.
There's just no consistency to it at all, man.
There's no consistency, man. Freaking at all. Tony Khan, bro, get your fucking shit together. Get off of social media. Don't worry about what WWE's doing, because I know how much you love to tune into freaking ratings and see what WWE Raw's ratings are. Like, dude, focus on your own product, because this build, and I get it, does a lot of this have to deal with WWE and them being in WrestleMania season and there's just a lot of focus and attention on them. Sure, to a degree. But this is a great opportunity for AEW to, like, this is one of your top pay-per-views of your calendar year.
Sting's last match.
This is Sting's, like, because that's what it feels like, Brian. It's like the only thing that AEW is relying on this show is Sting's retirement.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
Everything else is just, let's just throw all these matches on the card. You have Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson. Correct me if I'm wrong. They already faced each other in the Continental Classic. They faced each other on Collision, and now I got to see them again. What, they're going to bleed? It's going to be a bloody, gruesome match. I just saw that with Orange Cassidy and Matt Taven. What else is different that I haven't already seen with AEW? It's the same shtick, the same matches, the same freaking, I'm challenging somebody for a fight because I want to fight. That was John Moxley against FTR freaking not too long ago, and they had a match. It was John Moxley and Dax Hardwood, which again is a good match, but it's the same thing, the same lead up to a
fight.
Match that
it's just a good fight.
It's just a good fight,
That's
physical
it.
fight. That's it, bro. Nothing else
Yeah.
at all. And you're not setting the stage for anybody. The only person that you were setting the stage for, because he was just that damn good to his own accord, was MJF. That's it. And the only person you're setting the stage for, because it's his legit retirement, is freaking Sting. That's it, brother.
And even if I do have to say this, and again, this is just because he's my number 2 on, you know, the all-time greatest.
Yeah.
I don't even think, like, to me, like, this, it feels bigger to me because it's Sting, but I feel like it should be bigger within AEW. Like, I don't think, I think they're focused on that, but I still don't think,
because the
it's
show
not enough.
Because the show itself has not been built better enough. That's why.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we're excited for Sting, but outside of Sting, like, what else do you have to offer to make this show that much special? If you're just relying on Sting's retirement tour, that can only do so much. What about the rest of the show? Like, what are you giving people a reason to watch the rest of the show?
Yeah.
That Swerve can win a title? Guys, Swerve is not winning the world title at Revolution. Freaking Samoa Joe is going to win this championship. That's why Hangman Adam Page is inserted into this. He's going to take the pinfall, and that's probably going to lead further on this calendar year with a one-on-one match between Swerve and Samoa Joe, because freaking Samoa Joe should also not be losing this championship. I get it. He's older. You know, he's probably going to be she's not going to hold the title for that long, but I really hope we have enough respect for Samoa Joe to not have him hold on to the freaking title for a cup of coffee after he just dethroned MJF, who had one of the longest title reigns in this company's history.
Well,
I really hope we have enough.
I think it was the longest.
Legit, the longest reigning, the longest title reign in the company outside. I believe it was Kenny Omega that he surpassed or whatever, which is why they had that MJF and Kenny Omega had a match on Collision. It's funny how we wasted that whole spiel on Collision too. That's a different discussion, but yeah, I mean, listen, if you're an AEW fan, if you're a diehard, if you're a tribalist that just doesn't like what we're hearing, then tough shit, because this is just the reality. The numbers prove it, the ratings prove it, and just everything else. These shows, the crowd, it's just nothing adds up to the intrigue, right? You're doing decent stuff. Again, Tony Storm, the Young Bucks, all of that. Not saying there's nothing to really latch onto, but there's just a lot of inconsistency with Adam Copeland, with Christian, with Swerve Strickland, with Samoa Joe, with everything, the rest of your women's division. Ricky Starks.
The entire women's division.
I can freaking go on, right? Yep. And it's just, and it's a shame because, Brian, we've slammed this into a wall. There is so much talent. So much freaking talent. But you know what the answer is to everything, Brian? Let's add in another talent. Let's bring in another talent. Let's bring in another talent. Let's add another show onto the TNT freaking network or the TBS network. Let's freaking bring in another superstar. And we expect shit to just continue to get better when the quality of the show is not where it needs to be. You know, and now the only thing we can also latch onto now is Mercedes Moné. Is she is going to be freaking, she's going to be AEW bound for that big show that's coming up in March, which is big business. She's going to come back. She's going to be portrayed as a big deal. But again, is Tony Khan going to set the stage for her? Is she going to legit put her in something that's legit going to make big headlines outside of Tony Khan himself looking like a fool on social media. Because out for 5 years straight, Brian, that's probably been outside of the whole CM Punk freaking angle, which we've spoken about. The only really big headline that I can really think about in regards to the AEW product is Tony Khan himself, right?
Yeah.
And there's things, of course, with MJF to a degree, of course. But outside of that, it's either Tony Khan, the CM Punk shit with the Bucks. That's your big headline going in the wrestling community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. You're not giving people like a Tony Storm, like freaking, again, a Ricky Starks, right? Like a Daniel Garcia, like a Christian Cage. All of these people, I can go down the line. Nobody's talking about them. They're not creating major headlines because you, Tony Khan, are not setting the stage for them properly, because this build to this freaking pay-per-view has been mid at best. And that's being generous. And that's all I can say, man. So that's pretty much it with AEW, with AEW as a whole. So, well, listen, man, like I said, Toni Storm, she's doing very, very well. There's actually a little bit of a story too with Deanna, which I like. Deanna honestly should not win that championship from Toni Storm. Toni Storm is doing such good shit right now. That title reign is still very new with Toni Storm. I really doubt and I really hope that Toni Storm does not freaking lose that championship. And Deanna's great and it's believable, but for Deanna to win this title so soon against Toni Storm that's held this title so soon, I don't know how great business that is, but I like what they're doing for it. And if you have a plan for Deonna Purrazzo after this, things can work out. Will they? We'll soon find out, freaking fingers crossed. Right. So, and that's pretty much it with AEW. Brian, any final thoughts before we get into SmackDown?
No, I mean, I would have to agree. I don't think Toni Storm can lose the title right now. I think this needs to be, again, until we see Mercedes come back and how she's going to be thrown in the mix, I would say this has got to be like at least a 2 to 3 match feud between her and her and Storm. But yeah, I think she's retaining at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully she freaking does. Hopefully, but we'll see. But yeah, man, again, freaking Sting in his retirement tour. And again, they're going to make that special. The Bucks. It's going to be interesting, right? I mean, do the Bucks take these titles from Darby and Sting, or because it's Sting's retirement match and they maybe want to have Sting win his retirement match, do they beat the Bucks and maybe vacate the titles? And that could do wonders for Darby. Like, hey, we did this together. We won titles on your retirement tour. And that does wonders for Darby to give him a little bit of shine that he was part of Sting's last match being a tag team champion. So who knows? It's going to be interesting how, and I'm sure that's probably going to main event the show, you would think, right? I mean,
man, if it doesn't look, and it's a very, very low bar to surpass, but I mean, like Sting's time in WWE, they fuck that, man. Like that was complete bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's a very low bar to surpass, but man, if you don't do right by this guy, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably going to main event the show. I'm pretty confident that they'll have Sting and Darby and the Bucks probably main event the show. Again, long story short, Tony Khan, get your fucking shit together. Let's dive straight into WWE. Again, we got the Elimination Chamber coming up next week, this Saturday. And we got a few topics to discuss, as well as with Friday night SmackDown from last night. And we'll save all the juicy stuff to end the show. But the first thing I want to mention, man, and Brian, we spoken about this before we started recording this show. And there were 2 segments yesterday that I thought were really, really done well. The first one was Styles and the OC. They were backstage, both the OC and Michin. They were like, hey, listen, AJ, like, what's going on? Like, you haven't texted us, you haven't called us. And Carl Anderson's like, hey, listen, it seems to me like AJ's forgotten where he's came from. And Styles is already pissed, so he just jumps up and he shoves freaking AJ Styles. He freaking slaps the taste out of Carl Anderson's mouth, and freaking they get heated. He's like, no, if this was somebody else, we would have a problem. Like, you're lucky, like we're this close and we're this tight. And AJ Styles like, well, do something about it, right? and they walk off. And then LA Knight and Drew McIntyre done very, very well. Had a really good back and forth backstage. Security and refs broke it up, and LA Knight's like, listen, we're just talking. Like it legit felt like a legit beef type of conversation, like a legit heated conversation. Like LA's like, listen, we're just talking. Ain't that right, bro? We're just talking. And like, it got really like, it got heated and everything. So just done very well. I just want to acknowledge that. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully with AJ Styles, things pick up for him as a heel. I'm sure they played the whole shtick of like, oh, he got upset that he lost his qualifying match and he took it out on the OC, and that continues to plant seeds as well. So hopefully that picks up, as well as LA Knight and Drew. That's pretty much this whole kind of ways to build up the chamber, because they're going to be in the chamber match or whatever. But Brian, real quick, before we get into these topics, your thoughts in regards to those two segments?
Yeah, I thought the AJ segment was good. The only disappointment for me is that, if you go back a year and a half or so, like right before AJ got injured, it seemed like they were finally going to do something with the OC, with Michin, and then AJ gets hurt, and now we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if they're headed towards like some sort of breakup or whatever, like, yeah, I'm here for it, to see what they do. Because I feel like they've, the OC in WWE has never really reached its full potential. So, that's a disappointment if they're going the breakup route here without them ever really succeeding or being a dominant group. But
right,
as long as they are doing something with them, because I think it's, a story's there and whatever, and they're all great talent. So, that's a positive. And yeah, with the LA Knight thing, that was a great segment backstage. And I don't know, what do you think? I mean, because we both assume Drew's going to win, but I think the last two is either going to, it's going to be Drew and either LA Knight or Orton. Who you got in that?
I mean, Drew, you would think Drew is going to be in the final.
Yeah.
I honestly agree with you. I mean, it's probably, I would say it's probably, do I dare want to say it's Orton? I want to say it's probably going to be Orton. It'll be LA Knight, Orton, and Drew as the final three. And I think Drew and Orton will be probably the final two. And then Drew will win the match, and he'll punch his ticket to Mania. So the Elimination Chamber match, you got Kevin Owens, you got LA Knight, you got Drew McIntyre, you got Orton, Bobby Lashley, and the United States champion, which is Logan Paul. It's going to be interesting how Logan Paul fits into all this. I would love it.
Tell you what, he's gonna make a moment inside that chamber. He's gonna do
absolutely.
He's gonna do
whether
some
it's like
insane
a
shit.
frog splash, like off one of the pods or something. Maybe he hangs off the top of the freaking chamber. I would love if like everybody just gangs up on the dude. He's like,
I know. That's gotta happen.
That's gotta happen, bro. Everybody go up against the freaking social media megastar.
Right,
that would be great. I would love if they do all these grown ass power. Like again, freaking. I mean, debate if you want to say like how much of like star power, but all these stars going after this little social media influencer, I think that would be great. So it's going to be funny to see how Logan Paul fits into all this, and I'm guessing it's to kind of further along Kevin Owens and that whole spiel. But then there's this talk about LA Knight going after a mid-card title. I would rather LA Knight just do this whole shtick with Styles, because that seems like where it's been going to, because he cost AJ Styles his qualification match freaking last week. So
I'd much rather see that than him. I'd rather see AJ LA Knight than AJ Logan Paul.
Same. Absolutely. And then you got and then Bobby Lashley, he's kind of just like kind of the dark horse in all this because of just how poorly he's been portrayed.
I think he's just in there as a number,
because he's just Bobby Lashley. Man. It's like, hey, it's Bobby Lashley. Some people know who he is, so let's throw him in there. I thought it was going to be Bronson Reed, because again, he's from Australia, so you would think they would have an Australian native in this match, but they went with Bobby Lashley, which is interesting. And I guess that's why Grayson Waller is going to do the Grayson Waller side, because they need somebody from Australia. So, and then you got Orton, and I'll end it with this, and we'll continue on with the show. And then you have Orton, where who knows what Orton's freaking direction is here, because we thought Orton's direction was going to be with Solo, being in a match with Solo at Mania, and he's already faced Solo at SmackDown. So it's interesting where Orton goes after this, as well as the women. And I'll end it with this. So of course, Tiffany Stratton, my girl, she freaking qualified, freaking did that beautiful moonsault, defeated Selena Vega. You had Naomi. She had a really badass submission move, by the way. Freaking Alba Fire couldn't even tap out. She was like, couldn't even touch the tap out. It was like such a weird, I can't even describe of what the submission move was. But for the women, you have Becky, you have Bianca, you have Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and and Liv Morgan. And I think one more person needs to be added. So Brian, here, before we get into, Bayley and Io, because there's a lot of stuff going on there, your thoughts about the women's chamber match, man? Like, does Becky Lynch win this? Do they go Liv Morgan? Because you'd think it's going to be coming down to those two. So what do you think?
Yeah. My heart says Liv, but I think WWE is going to go with Becky. That's the route I think they're going.
Probably.
And the rest of the women in there. I mean, Tiffany Stratton's just coming up. It's good to see her in there, and I'm sure she'll have a moment or something. But we expect great things from her in the future. But she's not winning this.
God, WWE, please do a moonsault. Please have Tiffany Stratton do that beautiful moonsault
from the
top of the pod, dude. I'm sure she's gonna do something in regards to that, man.
Yeah.
And she's gonna put on a show, and I'm sure she's gonna really showcase herself in that spotlight, as well as Naomi. She's gonna do some really good stuff in there as well.
I'm going to give a shout out to Naomi, man, and I'm going to make a plea with WWE here. Like, look, this woman left that money on the table and said, fuck you, and walked out and went and made a name for herself. And she did.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. She's just coming back. And right now, there's a lot of women at the top. We're heading into Mania. Some things are already kind of in place. But I was just a little disappointed that, and it's no shade to, was it Alba Fire she was wrestling?
Alba Fire.
It was Alba Fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's no shade to her, man. But you can't come in and put Naomi back. I won't even call Alba Fire the mid card right now. So I don't, maybe if we get past, the chamber and Mania here, you gotta have something for Naomi. Come on, y'all. Don't do this girl dirty the second time, man. The fuck, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fear, I guess, in regards to WWE.
I mean, and like I said, I have faith in the leadership there now going forward, at least more so than I did. So again, hopefully this is just a situation where hey, things have already been in the works in whatever, and we got Bayley, we got Rhea, we got Becky, Nia's back, so it's stacked up there.
Yeah,
but
sure.
And we'll get into it in here a second, because there's a perfect fit for her right now to put her in a main event big time story.
Yeah, well, let's jump into that, man. So you got Io Sky and Bayley, Damage Control, this whole storyline arc here. And Damage Control, they cut a backstage little vignette, pretty much just warning. I guess it's like a warning to Bayley. Said, listen, you may have started Damage Control, but now we've made it better for what it is now, with Kyrie, Asuka, and myself. And you better sleep with one eye open, because we are coming for you. So pretty much sending a message to Bayley. And then Bayley was backstage with Dakota. Bayley still does not trust this woman at all to save her life. She's like, listen, I want to talk to you. I apologize. She's trying to plead her case, and Bayley's just having none of it. It's like, listen, I need you to understand where I'm coming from, and there's a lot going on right now. I can't do this. I can't have this conversation. And she walks off. Again, very simple, kind of last week.
But effective, man.
But very, very effective. I do wish, and I'll send this off to you, Brian. I'll try to make this short. I do wish for Damage Control, man, and who knows, maybe they'll save it for maybe a later date, but I really hope that they really dive deep, really get more personal with why Io did all of this, man, and really dive deep into Dakota Kai's story with this. It's supposed to be personal, really make it personal. Because again, man, we only got such a short amount of time here going into Mania. Really start to kick this into high gear. And maybe they do such in the next 2 weeks. And I'm holding out hope with that. It's legit by far the top best thing of the show, because of how well it's portrayed, the burn and everything. Thought it was a little too slow, but here we are, and it's worked out very well. So Brian, your thoughts, man? Io Sky, Bayley, backstage segments and everything. Your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I agree, man. There you have to dig deeper with this story, with all this whole group, man, because it's there. Like, don't just make this a little, fucking blow off. Like, invest in it, man. Like, it's sitting there
Absolutely.
for you.
Absolutely.
You got Bailey there. Dakota is still a wild card where she really aligns. We don't really know. And that's where, like, man, Naomi is a perfect fit to come in and have Bailey's back and, just to kind of even the odds. And, if Dakota is with Bailey, then you got Naomi, Bailey, Dakota, and you got Asuka, Io, and Kairi Sane. And you can, like, leading into Mania, after Mania, you can branch those off into feuds if you wanted to. Like, I mean, Naomi, Asuka, fuck yeah, So I don't know. We'll see where they go. But man, I think Naomi needs to be put in a bigger spot, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to align her with Bailey and against the rest of Damage Control. But so far I love the story. I hope they dig a little deeper in it, man.
Yeah. No, and I think that is going to happen. I think you are going to see Naomi, and that's probably what's going to be next for her. She is going to be inserted as a, I guess, reinforcement for Bailey. And again, hopefully they continue to tell Dakota Kai's story, because that's very interesting to see, where she ends up in all of this in regards to everything, because again, Bailey just does not trust her. And again, man, I do hope that they get personal with this, man. Like, don't just say like, oh, hey, we're coming for you. Keep one eye open. We made Damage Control better, now that you're no longer in it. No, like, dive deeper.
Like what?
It,
yeah. Like
why?
Like when Asuka came in, like what changed? What happened?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like, do the vignettes where like you're speaking in your native language, the subtitles. I think that's great. They've done it with Shinsuke, which, to an extent, for how poorly he's been booked, but still
I like it too with them. Absolutely. Yeah. Keep that.
Absolutely. So we'll see, man. And honestly, dare I say, Brian, before we get into this next final topic, and as I'm sure you guys pretty much know what it is, but freaking man, you can make it right. It's like, what would that be, right? What would actually be the topic to end this show? Well, freaking stay tuned to see what it is. It's gonna shock you, right? But to end things, man, and we'll get into it. Dare I say, Brian, like, listen, at this point, if you build it up that way, if you do get personal with Bailey and Io, I would not mind. I would not hesitate if you wanted to have Bailey and Io Sky main event in night 1 of WrestleMania. I'm being serious. Like, I would legit not even bat an eye at all. But again, it's how they continue to prolong this. And again, it was good. Everything was done well. I just wish they just could have done more. That's all. I just wish they could have done more. But shout out to all these ladies involved. Really, really solid stuff. And now, let's get into the final topic, shall we? Let's dive into The Rock. Heel Rock. As he was out there, Roman Reigns was out there first. He comes out, and as well as the rest of the bloodline, as he states that The Rock is officially a member of the bloodline. He's like, tonight's a big night. And The Rock comes out. He's got the freaking old Hollywood vest. He's got this Versace-looking gold vest. Freaking the sunglasses and everything. They cut to commercial, and we come back from commercial. He's on his way out there, and he praises the crowd. He says, "Hey, you guys you've broken an attendance record, the largest crowd in Utah in a wrestling show." He's like, "You've also
in that arena,
you're in that arena, right? Yeah, right. Exactly. Sorry, my apologies, but." And The Rock also goes on to say, he's like, you also broken the record for the largest gathering of trailer park trash The Rock has ever seen. And he just goes on to just tear apart freaking Utah. And and listen, the thing is too, Brian, everything that The Rock said was pretty funny, because he's not wrong. Because he says,
absolutely,
he says to the crowd, listen, you had a once in a lifetime opportunity. The Rock and Roman, and you let it slip away from you, right? That the realism of all this shit, you let it slip away from you because you wanted Cody Rhodes to finish his story, right? That whole freaking shit. And he's like, listen, and he kind of like compares it to sports. He's like, listen, when the San Francisco 49ers, they just lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, did they go online and say, hey, wait a minute, what about our story? Right? He's like, no, that's not how it works, right? Just because that you want something doesn't mean it's going to give it to you because you're a bunch of crybaby bitches. He even goes to the crowd, like, dude, shut up. I'm going to slap the herpes off your freaking lips. Dude, he was in his element, man. And what's funny, and I'll end it with this. Everything that The Rock did, because it was so damn good, even people that were booing this guy, right? You heard it in Utah, right? They chanted Rocky, Brian. They were legit chanting Rocky at one point in this feud. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. We gotta boo The Rock because we want Cody, right? We're part of this shtick. We're part of this whole gathering. Oh, we gotta boo The Rock. But guys, deep down, you can't boo this motherfucker, man. You can't boo him because he's that polarizing. He's that damn good. You guys know that even at his age and where he's at, the fact that he only comes back to WWE once every 2 to 3 years and he's still that damn freaking good at what he does, just being the polarizing attraction that he is and drawing an audience, something that a lot of majority of your wrestlers in the back really can't do and even hold his freaking jock strap. And he proved it to you in this freaking promo. And he freaking ends it with listen, Cody Rhodes, your story is just ending. Our story is just beginning. And he says, if you smell what the bloodline is cooking, and they all hold up the freaking ones, and SmackDown goes off the air. Brian, I gotta see what your thoughts are, man. Your thoughts about heel Rock and this promo. Your thoughts, man. Take it away.
I'm really going to try to convey this as best I can as a fan, like somebody that grew up and has seen The Rock from back when he was babyface Rocky Maivia all the way through till now. And, there was a time, with his feuds with Stone Cold in that era. And then when he came back in the Hollywood Rock, like there's like, he can't get any better, right? Bro, he's better. Like, and I'm sure it's, a lot, the Hollywood acting and all that has helped him immensely.
Yeah.
In that one promo last night, like, go back and watch that. Like, everything he did, like, even to like where, he starts to say, finally The Rock has come back. And they were like, oh, you're going to boo that now? And then he takes you on another little journey, but then comes back to it and finishes it.
Right.
There is not a single person in the WWE and AEW and all of the wrestling world that can make you boo him and cheer him in a snap of a finger in a 5-minute promo. Nobody. He is in a class all by himself.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
So yeah, to that I am so like, man, because we mentioned it before, like, this isn't really like the Hollywood, he's going to crack some jokes, but it's not really the Hollywood joke cracky Rock. This is more like, I'm still here, I'm kicking your ass, and this is the bloodline, and I'm going to call you fans bitches, and like, I'm here for this all, man. And if the Cody Cry Babies want to continue, I'm here for that too.
Right.
Because what you saw last night is why The Rock is headlining, involved, or whatever in WrestleMania. That's why. Because nobody else, not even Roman Reigns right now, can do what Rock did last night.
Right.
Nobody.
Absolutely. And I've made this statement before, like, even in the press conference, like, he makes a lot of stars today. People like Roman, people like Seth. So The Rock makes these people look average. Legit, bro. Like, I'm telling, like, there's Roman, who's good, and he's done a lot of good stuff.
Yep.
There's Seth
Cody
and Cody,
is great. Yep.
Which people respect, and they do good things. But then there's The Rock, man, who is on just another freaking level. A guy that is freaking continues to get older. He's in his 50s, but could still do it better than everybody else in that freaking locker room. And people wanted to trash this dude, that he's too freaking old, that he's a part-timer. We don't like The Rock. This is Cody's time. this and this and that, all this bullshit that we hear. And the way that crowd reacted last night, Brian, it told you everything, and how right we were about The Rock, and how Rock and Roman is just a more polarizing match because The Rock is just that damn good. And on top of that, because of Cody, and this has nothing to do with Cody, and it's not even Cody's fault to a degree, but for an entire year, you've done nothing to set the stage for Cody for a full year for him to run it back at WrestleMania 40. You have done nothing. And that's the only thing, the only blunder that I do have about this, Brian, is that I hope at some point, for Cody's standpoint, we got to start getting an explanation from this freaking guy, because the problem is with Cody and fans, Cody Rhodes fans, they don't even realize it. The amount of time they've bitched and moaned, and the fact that WWE has had to call audibles because of it, they don't realize.
And I'm glad The Rock addressed that last night in the promo. He's like, what, why are we getting Cody at WrestleMania? Because of you.
Because of right. Right, exactly. And they don't realize that because they bitched, because they moaned, because they freaking outspoke, it's the fact that WWE continues to call audibles, and it's continuing to make Cody Rhodes really look horrible. The fact that he's not explaining himself of everything that he's doing. It's like, bro, why did you decide not to fight Roman at Mania the first time you said it back on SmackDown a couple weeks ago? Why at the press conference did you even change your mind and said, yeah, never mind, I want to face Roman Reigns at Mania? This guy never explains himself. The only way, Brian, if you're really going to intrigue me, because you're doing a lot, and I mean a lot, to intrigue me in regards to Rock and Cody, Roman and Seth. But what you're not doing is intriguing me about Cody and Roman, specifically those two, because that's the match at Mania. That's the match that those two were those two were going to put on. It's not freaking Rock. It's not going to be Seth, right? It's those two. That's the main event of night 2. And they have done everything but build up that freaking matchup between those two for a full freaking year. All they've done is run it back. They had Cody win the freaking Rumble again. They did nothing before that. Everyone wanted to bitch and moan and complain like there was actually a story for a freaking year, like we actually cared about Cody and Roman this entire year. And now Cody Rhodes has been more more attracted to fans once again because of The Rock. And that's freaking why. That's freaking why, man. But they don't realize that it's only hurt Cody Rhodes in the process because of how WWE has called audibles and how they have booked him. And that's the problem. But man, freaking whether he's a heel, whether he's a face, The Rock, the one thing that Rock proved you last night, regardless of how or where this leads to in the future, what this company and The Rock proved to you last night, that there's The Rock and then there's just everybody else. And that's just a fucking fact, man. Brian, your final thoughts.
Yeah, just as far as the Cody part of it, I would even say it's probably in WWE's best interest, not just to specifically like winning the Rumble and then pointing to Roman and then saying, I'm not coming after you, and then saying I am. I mean, it sucks, it's shitty, but I think we all know why, just in that week and a half, why all that transpired. It was because of the fans' reaction, both to Cody and to The Rock.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I think WWE is just going to try to just keep moving forward, which might be in the best interest for him now, as far as Cody explaining why he pointed, then said he wasn't. I don't know that benefits anybody, just specifically with that part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. They gotta, like I think I mentioned it last week, you gotta get Roman and Cody in the ring now and start doing something with them.
Start telling that story. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So, but we'll see, man. Freaking listen, it was overall slightly a decent better show than last week. And listen, that's coming from me, who was there at SmackDown last week. And there's no doubt it was slightly better. Definitely there's a lot more improvement to be made, but slightly better with everything that we've talked about, man. So, but listen, I'm going to end it with this too, and then we'll close this show out. Listen, Brian, you said it yourself with this whole Cody movement, right? The only reason why they made that audible for The Rock to come back is for you to go on this outrage, to start this movement, to get everybody to stop talking about Vince McMahon, right?
Yeah.
Everything, man. And WWE, they got what they wanted, right? They got what they wanted. And guess what? And now those Cody Rhodes fans, those same fans that were in outrage, are reminded and are even praising The Rock today to say, man, this dude is good. Heel Rock, face Rock. This dude knows how to put on a freaking segment and how to light up that microphone. This company, guys, played you like a fucking fiddle, because now you're no longer talking about the lawsuits. You're no longer talking about everything that's freaking really has been a downgrade with this company ever since the Netflix deal. You're no longer talking about that. WWE has gotten you wrapped around your fucking finger, because now you're outraged about Cody, and now The Rock comes back, and now you're polarized by The Rock again, because you know deep down you cannot boo, you cannot hate on this dude for how good this freaking dude is.
Yeah.
You got fucking played, and they are freaking having a ball. They love every second of it, because every single second that you chant, "We want Cody," and you start this movement, continues to prove our point, as well as your point, Brian, because the more you talk about The Rock, the more you talk about Cody, how much The Rock sucks, how much Cody deserves this opportunity, is only helping WWE. And they're going to eat it up, and the plans are still going to move accordingly. And that's just it, man. So you all got fucking played and are going to continue to get fucking played. And that's just
in the words of the people's champ, The Rock, shut your mouth and enjoy the ride, bitches.
Right. Shut your mouth and enjoy the ride that The Rock is about to take your bitch ass on. And that's just it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Ruthless Talk. Appreciate everybody once again. Again, our next show, we are right back at it on Wednesday when we talk Monday Night Raw. And of course, we got a bunch of upcoming shows to talk about. Of course, we got Elimination Chamber. There will be no SmackDown review next week. It is all about the Elimination Chamber next week, and that will come out sometime on Sunday. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And of course, another edition of The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. If you guys know, that's how we dissect reviews. It's another edition of that pay-per-view review. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And of course, we got WrestleMania right around the corner. We got that roundtable. March 30th is when we will be starting to record that episode. And that episode will be recorded sometime that day or the next day. So make sure you guys stay tuned as well. And of course, you got AEW Revolution. We will talk about AEW Revolution at some point during that time frame when that show does end on March 3rd. Coming up for Sting's retirement. There's going to be lots to talk about that. And yeah, man, thank you guys so much for always tuning in. I want to give a shout out to David, Top Bunk Sports, allowing me, because I was in a Twitter space yesterday, and I want to thank him for allowing me to be in the space. I was a co-host of that space, and we had some good conversations, as well as things got a little freaking heated. But hey, freaking, if I'm pissing people off and entertaining people, that I'm doing my freaking job properly. So, hey, if you don't follow me on freaking X, I'll put my all my Twitter stuff in the description down below and everything. So, but appreciate everybody for, wherever you came from on TikTok, Instagram, and you see that banner down below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and TikTok, Ruthless_Talk. And just thank you guys for always being a part of this community, and stay tuned for more content. Brian, your final thoughts before we end the show.
Yeah, just once again, thank you to everybody, man. Definitely stay tuned for our upcoming Chamber review, as well as Mania coming up, Revolution, bunch of pay-per-views coming up here in the next month and a half. So
absolutely,
yeah, a lot of wrestling, man. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Still on a month and a half left to Mania, man. So we'll see.
We'll see. Fingers crossed, man. Habit and hope, like I always say. So that is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelly.
I'm Bryan Thomas.
And until next time, and there will be a next time, your boys are signing off saying salutes.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody.
If you can see